see a red?
Yeah, yeah. Come on.
Welcome to Friday. It's Friday, viernes. Hope everyone's having a sunny day like we are here. I'm sorry to Chile, we're in winter, but yeah, Europe, we're definitely getting some great weather. Today's global goal is global goal number 15, which is life on land. And what we're going to do is take you through a session that you could use. This session is particularly good for younger kids because they're teaching the very basics of how to grow plants, how to grow trees, in order for them to get the idea of what they could do to take action for the global goal. And then we'll talk a bit about the facts and the impact that it would have. So the aim of today's session is that the kids would go away understanding how a tree grows and how they would plant a tree and what are the things they need in order for the plants to grow successfully. So that's our learning objective, and we're going to try and make it fun with games along the way, as always. Here's the model we work with, the high five model. So you start with a warm-up, even though we are very warm today. Warm-up, and then we do an individual game that they could do alone in their house or via Zoom. Then a group game. So if you're in a school that's already gone back and you're able to do some lessons, here's some group games that you can do. Then we'll do a physical challenge, which appropriately today is the yoga pose, the tree. And then we'll talk about the action for the goal. If you're looking for more detail on the action for the goal, then you can check out Clara's video that she did on Wednesday, I think it was, and that gives you a lot more detail, because I'm going to basically be talking about the pedagogy and how to get the message across to kids rather than such in-depth knowledge that Clara has. You can also check out when we did Brave training about the same goal, and some of the other coaches as well, on the Global Goals World Cup archive. Okay, so let's crack on with the warm-up, even though I am already dripping with sweat because it's so hot. Okay, so the warm-up today is going to be, I've got the diagram here. So this is a very popular game with kids. Sometimes it's called cones and domes, sometimes it's called like sombreros and ice creams. Basically the whole idea of the game is one team, here you have the green team, is turning the pots upwards and the other team is turning them the other way. So in this game it will be cool, you'll kind of tie it in with the message. So it's you tell them to plant loads of trees, or you could call it the oak tree battle or pine tree battle, whatever trees maybe are close to your football pitch. So this team is going to be trying to turn the plant pots around that way, and the other team is going to turn it the other way. So it's like an ongoing battle. If you have 2v2, you can still do it, but you just place a number of plant pots around, and then you kind of go head to head in a race. So I'm just going to play it on my own, but I'll show you how it would work. Put the second plan there. So here, luckily my mum is a great gardener, and so she has a lovely collection of plant pots because I didn't bring my cones back from Chile. So who needs cones when you have plant pots? Very appropriate for the life on land goal. So what you do is you set them up so that 50% of them are turned down and 50% of them are turned up, like that. Okay, and then you can also get the kids to help you. They sometimes like setting stuff up like this. And then when you've done that, then you go head to head. So imagine I'm playing against my trusty friend here. You might also hear our neighbours, they're playing there. So we have our friend here. So the smiley ball is going to be attempting to turn the pots up like this. So like an ice cream cone. And then I'm going to try and turn them the other way, like that. So like a sombrero hat or a hat. So it's hats and ice cream cones if they can't remember. In this game it's going to be one team is planting the trees, and they can even, like if you're working with 4, 5, 6-year-olds, they might want to actually act out planting because they have good imagination. And the other team is going to be deforestation. Typically maybe a lot of energetic kids would love to be deforestation when they can practice smashing with their chainsaws, and the idea is that they're doing both roles, and then you can discuss it afterwards. Say like, do you think it's good that we're cutting the trees down? Hopefully they'll say no, and you can ask them why, and then you can talk about the habitats for the animals, the birds, and what the trees do to help us to survive on planet Earth. So you can, if you want to go into more detail, you can talk about respiration and photosynthesis and the like reciprocal relationship they have, but that'll be a bit more advanced. So anyway, let's play the game. I am so warm already, but we're going to crack on. So it's me against the inanimate object of the smiley ball. I really hope I win. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. So I'm the tree planting team. You can always add in extra challenges. So you could say, like, before you plant the tree, you've got to do like act out shoveling. So I'm doing my best shoveling impression here, like that. Or you could say you've got to do raking, or any kind of garden or forest space thing. Meanwhile, the other team, the smiley ball, could be doing cutting down the trees, so then that you can make them do the soaring action or anything that you think they would associate with deforestation. So imagine there's someone else doing this against me, so I'll turn it like that and the other team turns it round. Okay, so it's an ongoing battle, and it's really anaerobic as well. You can do this with adult players in the warm-ups for their training. Imagine if you spread these out, then it's a bit more sprint training. Is Ellen watching?
There's 2 eyes.
2 eyes. Hi to the eyes. No, but there's normally more people, but for some reason it only shows 2. Okay, so the smiley ball was the winner. So that's how you play the game. Then you could progress it if you wanted to get the balls involved. Depends if you're doing it like a basketball game or a football game. You can do the same game, but this time everyone has to do the same game, but also using a football. So then you're progressing it and making it football specific. Obviously we've got quite a small area here, but just so you get the idea, it's the same game but with the football. So the kids have got to think about their close foot control and also doing a task. So it's like developing their coordination, hand-eye coordination and foot-eye coordination. You can add in things like, okay, before you plant a tree, you've got to do 10 toe taps, which replicates things that you need to plant a tree. So it could be like, okay, you've got to dig the hole, then you've got to add fertilizer or some nutrients to the soil to make it more fertile, then you've got to add water, then you've got to make sure there's sunlight, so that every time the kids do it, they're doing a physical movement as well, just to reinforce it and hopefully help them to remember it. And it's kind of incentive to do the task so that they can get on with the action of planting the tree, or the other team, deforestation team. Okay, so hopefully kids will enjoy both roles. I'll just pack up our plant pots. So you can see that you don't need to have loads of cones and all the latest equipment. You can adapt any of these games if you have Tupperware lunch boxes or paper plates or anything that you want to use, because kids have got much better imagination than us, even though I am basically a large kid, but they've got really good creativity. So if you tell them this is representing a tree, they'll believe you. Oh, well, they'll definitely play along. Use coconut shells.
It's for the birds.
Okay. Oh, kind. Okay, so then let's see where we are on the session. So we've done our warm-up. So many trees and plants around. So we've done the warm-up, and then so we've been talking about the oak tree battle, pine tree battle, any tree that you want to talk about. Maybe if you're in different countries, you could talk about the native trees to the kids. My favourite tree in Chile, for example, is Arayan. It's like an orange tree, and we're using it to build our log cabin. You can get across any messages, for example, like replanting trees if you cut some down, kind of talking about sustainability and long-term solutions. And then the next game is called Árbol Acción, and that is Spanish for like tree action, but I wasn't just going for the alliteration here and for our Spanish viewers. So Árbol Acción is a similar concept where we're trying to reinforce the things that you need in order for a tree to grow. So the plant pot in this case, soil, the seeds of the tree or stone of the, for example, like a peach tree, sunlight and water. So that you can talk there about photosynthesis, how the plant makes energy for itself using its mitochondria, and the reaction, which is a bit more complex than the target age for today, but you could if you have older kids. So what we're going to do is, the kids, if you're doing it individually, obviously they'll just be on their own. If you're doing it as a group, they're going to work in teams. So I'll show you what's going to happen. So you're going to have some props and you need to be creative. You like creativity? So in your football pitch, you'll put stuff like watering can. Okay, if it's a hot day like today, you could use the actual watering can, and then the kids can actually get involved, and I'm sure they'll like to really get everyone wet. Try not to get the camera lady. And then you could say, for example, okay, all the footballs are seeds, and in order for the seed to germinate, you need to do some toe taps, or you need to go side to side, and then wham! Suddenly the seed's going to burst open and a tree will start. So you have to be very creative. If you don't happen to have a watering can on your football pitch, you can just use your own personal water and say to the kids, for example, okay, here we've got my seed, like that, just so it's visual and hopefully they'll remember. Water for me too. And then, what other things do we need? If it's a really cold, rainy, dark day like it is in Chile, you could use torches to replicate the sunlight. So that could be something else for them to kind of find on a treasure hunt type activity, and then collate it with all their team and see if they've got all the component parts. So I'm going to imagine that this is hidden over here in the barbecue fire pit. My sun cream, you could say it's extra nutrients for the soil. And then you could have all these little balls as other seeds, and you can get the kids to say, look, okay, that's an acorn, other types of a conker, or like a peach tree. This is the stone of a peach. Mango, avocado. Goose is actually, my husband who normally films this is currently in Chile doing his project called Muco, and today he's planting loads and loads and loads and loads of trees by the river, which is going to look spectacular when it's done, so hi to Goose if you're watching. The other way you could do it, if you don't have props, if you're in a classroom, is just have different colour pencils. So for example, use it logically, so blue is going to represent water, yellow is going to represent sunlight, the black could be the seed, brown could be the soil, and green could be the extra nutrients you're going to add, or something, whatever you would like to improvise. And then you would do the same. You could even do that if you don't have any space, you could do the game with kids where it's pick up sticks. I just thought of that, you know, where you can't move the stick when you try and remove it. So anything which is getting them thinking of the component parts. So imagine we're on a bigger scale here and these are all separated. So then you're going to get all the teams or individuals, or if you're on Zoom you're just going to say to everyone, 2, 1, and they send one person at a time to search. So the person goes off with their football and they're searching and they found sunlight. So they come dribbling back triumphantly, and then they've got the sunlight thing, and then tag their next player, then the next player goes, and then so the team needs to communicate and say, okay, we've got sunlight, we know that's the other parts. Solving for the kids as well, what might happen with get 3 sunlights just because they like the colour yellow, and then they've got no seed or no water. So it's just about making sure they've got all of the different ones, a bit like collecting all the top trumps cards or collecting all of the counters. So off we go again. So now we come back with my plant pot. Here we go, and off we go again. So tag next player, and bring my watering can. First time ever in my life to dribble the football with a watering can. Glad I'm in the presence of a botanist as well. Okay, then off we go again, tag, and this player is going to grab these things which represent extra water because it's blue. Off we go again. Probably there's going to be some creative kids. So some kids might come back and say, look, I found this and this means, and they will tell you, maybe they say, this is the instruction guides for when to plant the plants, and going to give you all the information. So you can let the kids go run wild with the ideas and use all their imagination, because especially between about 4 and 8 or 9, they really love their imagination and their creativity, and they could spend ages building a den or building a patch to sow their seeds, or the kids at Brave Park spent ages looking for blackberries and acorns. So you can really use that age to really use creativity and imagination. So here we've got the seed guide, and then then you say to the kids, what are you missing? You've got water, plant pot, you've got your sunlight, you've got extra water, you've got your planting guide. Hopefully they're going to say the seed. So then you need to go off and look for the seed. I'm going to say now that the very versatile squidgy balls is the seed, and then you'll get the whole team together and you say, okay, what do we need to do? And they'll say, okay, we need the plant pot, you need to put some soil in, so then probably grab some wood chippings, replicate the soil. Again, you just got to kind of imagine you're a kid and just roll with it. Don't worry about looking silly, or, I mean, it's only kids watching, and it doesn't matter. It's about them having fun and learning, so try to get rid of your own, and you might feel a bit shy doing it, but the kids will really embrace it, and as long as you look confident and into it, they'll feed off that. So you just have to act really well, or just embrace it and pretend you're 5 and have a good time. So seed goes in, then add some water, more soil. Hope all my plant loving friends are watching, by the way. And then you're going to say to the kids, now this bit they'll probably really enjoy. And in my previous job I worked at an adventure centre where the kids did den building, and I'm just remembering where we made dens, and then the highlight of the day was when we got a big bucket of water and the kids had to be inside the den, and then we tested the waterproofness, and then normally they were not very waterproof, so the kids were soaking wet. So you could do quite similar things, saying the kids are seeds, and the kids, when the water comes, they have to grow and be a plant. I think there's a lot of scope for creativity here. Anyway, here we go. Even the neighbours are excited about this seed growing. Okay, and then you would have to be a little bit creative. Where's my green pencil?
It's just treading on it.
Where?
Treading on it.
Oh yeah, there we go. See, it was well hidden. So then you can say like, wow, look. I mean, with 4-year-olds you can quite easily like, oh, it's grown a tree, and then they'll probably embrace it. And then you can talk about, okay, we need to keep you need to animate the session with your own enthusiasm and energy, because if you can't just sit back and say like, okay, that's the end of the game. You need to really like, keep going, guys, we need this tree to grow. So there's going to be people there with their torches being the sun, there's going to be other people there with the water, and we need more water. You've got to enthuse them, and they're going to go running to the tap, we need more water. As long as you get the urgency going, they will respond. And you can have people running back and forth with water bombs and watering cans and their water pistols. You just got to keep kind of, maybe if you put an adult on each group, just saying like, yeah, we're going to need more water, we need more sunlight, we need more yellow pencils, like just to make it a team effort. And then at the end of it, you can do a kind of consolidation activity where we say, okay, so what do you remember what we needed? And hopefully most kids will remember through play, because it's a lot more effective. Kids learn better when they're enjoying themselves, just like adults. If you're doing something that you like, you tend to enjoy it more and learn more, because your brain is engaged and relaxed, and you're having fun. They've done studies, and when you're doing something fun or enjoyable or playing, you learn a lot more, which makes sense. So yeah, just try and make it fun for the kids so they actually take it on board and aren't just gazing out of the window. So here, that's the recap of that game, which was Árbol Acción. I'm also just drawn a little diagram here where you can do árbol archery, because I've seen a game before which I adapted for this, where the different colour sections of the archery are the component parts. So when I did it, it was teaching people how to make a cake, and they had to get like white for flour, yellow for butter, red for jam, kind of thing. But you could easily adapt it for these key learning parts here. That, for example, the blue bit represents water, so if your team fires your arrow and it hits the blue, you've succeeded with that, and then it's just a race between the teams to get all of the component parts, and then voila, the tree grows. So you can talk about that. Then I would, if I was teaching a curriculum class, probably talk about doing some drawings of trees or looking at leaves, so they're really immersed in the subject. Maybe grow their own acorn or sunflower seed or something, and then over the course of the term they could see it grow, and that's quite nice for them, like nice and rewarding. Okay, so we've done our plant loads of trees game, or the oak tree battle. Then we did the Árbol Acción, which you have to say in your best Latino accent every time. Then remember, there was the add-on archery. If you happen to have an archery kit, or if you're in an outdoor adventure centre, or you could replicate it with a big board and water bombs. That would be very fun. Or water pistols. We've done that at Rave Park. Then we're gonna do the physical challenge, the tree pose. I'm just going to check with my mum who does Pilates. Is that the tree? Is that correct? I think it's yeah. So here is a diagram. So you can either get kids doing it with their arms out wide for balance. If they want to challenge themselves, they could throw their squidgy ball. Mine is now soaking wet from the watering can. Or they can put their hands together in like a prayer pose. So we're going to try it, and then with your kids you can say, okay, how long can you balance for? You could do a competition between the class, and then you could also do, for example, can you do it and can you close one eye, or could you do it and draw your name with your foot while you're doing it. So just for differentiation and to add extra challenge for the more able learners, so that they're stretched and not getting bored. For people who are struggling with their balance, or if they've got some kind of movement difficulty like dyspraxia, or something which is making it difficult for them to balance, they could hold onto a chair or a friend. Often if you focus on one visual task, or you hold your ear at the same time, it helps your brain to focus and your visual system to kick in. So let's try the tree pose. So what I need to do is get the sole of my foot and get it up into the side of my leg, like that. And you should find it. Everyone needs to be doing this now. I don't want anyone just watching. So that goes into your leg here, and then hopefully try to look at an actual tree when you're doing it. So you have two trees together. So you could either do it like that, like a good yogi, or you can have your hands out for balance, or you can try and, what the kids will like to do is act like the tree they can see. So this is the silver birch tree in my parents' garden, and as soon as I tried to think about that tree, I fell over. So there we go, try and act like the silver birch. Then you could tell them different trees, like pine tree or rhododendron, weeping willow, and get them seeing how many trees they know. Yeah, it's all about imagination this session, a lot of creativity. The games I've done is really especially for the 4 to 11-year-olds. If you want the older kids to do it, you would need to reduce a lot of the imagination stuff, so you won't think it's cool. Oh, I find it harder on this leg. So you want to really apply the pressure so that you're making sure this foot is staying on the leg. You can see that my left ankle is struggling more than my right ankle, and I'm finding it harder to maintain this on my leg. So as all the hopefully yoga instructors will tell you, remember to breathe when you do it. We're going to do it again, and we're going to hold it for, let's go for, as it's goal 15, we're going for 15 seconds. This is the last thing before your weekend. Let's go. 1, no, let's count down. Let's do it in, we'll do it in 3 different languages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, what's the next one going to be? I'm not, Ellen, before you even say Estonian, I'm not doing Estonian. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, I think. Okay, so, and then try the other leg. So that was my stronger one. Now I'm going for my weaker one. So you've got to wedge it in. I find this one much harder to practice this one. Okay, so I'm having to apply a lot of pressure to keep it on my leg so it's sliding down. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And now we're going to do the last one. You've got to throw the ball at the same time. Ready? 1. Oh, that's a test for the balance. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so you can also add different skills for your kids. Shake your legs out. I did a big cycle yesterday, so you can feel the lactic acid. Okay, let's just final recap. We've managed to do our warm-up. We've done individual game, group game, additional archery challenge, tree pose with additional balls if you need to just challenge the balance and the cognitions. Then the action for the goals. Clara did a big session on this in a much greater detail. But I'd say first challenge would be, if you have kids or you're in contact with kids, let's make sure all kids know the things that we need, the requisites to plant a tree. So you've got a responsibility for teaching them that. Then we can do things which up here, trying to minimise the impact, our CO2 footprint. So, for example, if you've got a short journey rather than driving, just to minimise CO2, can you take ferries and trains where possible? Try and get everyone's carbon footprint. Do you offset the carbon footprint by planting trees or contributing to a charity like that? Like Ventures, which partners local partners in Tanzania, and that's amazing. They're doing loads of tree planting, and it's helping the local community too. Then you could contribute to other charities that are helping for sustainable solutions to deforestation, offering like the people in, for example, the Amazon that require the forest for their income. There's charities that are there to help them find other ways rather than just cutting down the native trees. And just some facts to finish. Everyone loves a Friday fact. So, 30% of Earth's surface is covered in forest, and 1.6 billion people are dependent on the forest. So it's really important that we have it sustainably and long-term insured for the planet. 80% of the human diet is plants. I was quite surprised at this fact, but yeah, plant-based or relies on plants, I think they want to say. These facts are all on the United Nations Development Programme website if you want to refer to them. Each year 1.3 million hectares is lost to deforestation, which is really sad. Think of all the species of animals that have lost their homes and the consequent effects on the ecosystems. Forests are home to more than 80% of all animals, plants and insects. So again, thinking about the impact we have of cutting one tree. If you cut this one, think about all the animals and plants that rely on that in their food cycle. And 60 to 80% of the world's fresh water is in the mountainous areas. So if you think about, if we're doing loads of deforestation in the mountains, we're actually depriving ourselves of the thing we need most, really, which is fresh water. So all these things tied together, we really need to make sure we're prioritising the forest so that it can sustain not only plant life and animal life, but also our own lives, because we are so dependent on trees for photosynthesis and respiration to occur with the, I think it's called a symbiotic relationship, is that right? Where they work together?
Yeah, mutual beneficial.
Yeah. Okay, so that's rounding up. We've done action for the goal and additional facts. So when you're at your barbecue tonight, you can whack out your Friday forestry facts. Yeah, it's been nice training with you today. I hope you've had fun, and well done for giving it a go, even though it's been a sunny Friday, and I'm sure it was very tempting to give this one a miss and just have a nice cold milkshake. I'm going to be back on Monday doing a Spanish session, and then on Wednesday and Friday of the finishing off the goals, and then after that we've got a new series coming up, but I will leave Marie to tell you more about that. Okay, have a lovely weekend everyone, and thanks again for your support and for following the Global Goals Clubhouse. I hope it's helping you, and especially during the quarantine times. Okay, keep smiling and have a lovely weekend.